technology, working with them to build end-to-end transformations, starting from discoveries in terms of understanding what they need, to design around what it is that we need to build for them, the build and test, of course, of the various functionality for them, all the way to the change management and rollout for them. And so you may be wondering what a director of professional services does. And so at Groundswell, I oversee all of the delivery. So working and overseeing all of our project managers, our consultants, our architects, and our designers to make sure that we're really providing value to our clients, really bedazzling them, and really helping our team also build and grow. Okay. And so what I'm here to talk to you about today, I mentioned that building lasting relationships. I'm not here to bring anything novel or groundbreaking, but really to share my story around my career, how relationships have helped me navigate through my career. And if there's anything I want you to walk away with, and that's to really recognize and appreciate the importance of building good, lasting relationships. And so where I want to start us off is really, you may have heard this quote before. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Now, I personally don't really think this is accurate, because what you know is definitely important. Just if you rely purely on who you know and get to places, it gets a little bit scary because you may not know exactly what needs to be done there. And so the adjustment here is really, it's what you know and it's who you know. The who you know is, I believe, as important as what you know. And I'm going to share my story of why I think that is. And starting my career, I mentioned that I've been with Groundswell for some time now, and I've been in technology consulting for over a decade. But before I get into that, how I got into technology consulting, I actually want to start off with after school and where I was going for post-secondary. So I attended BCIT, British Columbia Institute of Technology, and getting into post-secondary, everyone's telling me you need to build your network. You need to figure out like who the people are that you're going to connect with. And one of the first people that I thought about was like, okay, I need to connect with the program head, because if anything, what am I trying to get out of school? I want to get a job, right? And so I needed to connect with the program head. And BCIT, for those that don't know, they have a reputation for finding jobs in industry and really connecting their students to be able to get those jobs. And so my target, the program head for my specific program, we'll just call him Sam. That's not actually his real name, but that is kind of what he looks like. And so I made an effort to connect with him, asking him about the assignments, talking through about the classes, finding time in between breaks to really connect and understand what it is I could be doing in my career, how I could be building on my skills. And he made time for me. Now he was busy being a program head, trying to make sure that everyone else is taken care of. But as I was finishing off my diploma, I started to wonder, do I need a degree? Should I finish off my degree? Where should I finish my degree? And so I went to him and I asked him, hey, should I go to SFU? Should I go to UBC? And he was like, no, go to Royal Roads. And I was like, what is Royal Roads? I've never heard of it before. He's like, it doesn't matter, just go there. You'll finish your degree in 1 year. So I put some trust into that. And so I was like, okay, maybe he knows what he's talking about. I don't think he's out there to mess up my career or mess up my education. He wants to help me out. I put that trust. And so I did go to Royal Roads. And so I took that path to Royal Roads. I finished off my degree within 1 year. And as I was getting close to my graduation, I realized I don't have a job yet. And I was like, I had a bit of a panic attack. I was like, where am I going to go? I'm going to graduate. I don't have a career. What are my parents going to say about me, right? And so I reached back to Sam, my program head, and we still kept in contact. I'd email him every so often to just greet him and just make sure that he doesn't forget about me. So before my graduation, I reached out to him, and he introduced me to a company called Crichton. Now, it was I didn't know the company. It wasn't some big brand, but I was like, I need a job. I just need to get somewhere, get some experience. And that's what he told me. Just get your foot in the door, get some experience, and then figure it out later. So I believed him. I made the jump. I went to Crichton. And I was there for a couple of years. And while there, that's when I got involved into Salesforce. I became their internal admin while also doing inside sales. So that's kind of how I got into towards technology. But there was an event taking place for Salesforce in Vancouver. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll go attend that, see some networking opportunities and see what's there to happen. And so I went there, and surprisingly, two of my peers from Royal Roads were there. And these were guys that I was close with, not super close with. We were like, we'd play basketball during the week. We'd go out during the weekends when we were all in school. And I kept in contact with them, but not super close. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, whoa, you guys are here at this event. Salesforce at the time back then, way back then, was kind of small. So I was surprised. And so I got to chatting with them. And it turns out that they were actually they're part of a startup consulting company called Traction on Demand. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm actually really liking this Salesforce thing. And so through that relationship with them, they kind of introduced me to the company and really gave me the opportunity to take on my first consulting job in technology. And so I decided to trust them, make that leap. At the time when I went there, it was actually a warehouse still in Port Moody, for those of you that are familiar with the area. And so it was a bit of a trust I put into them. And I made the leap, but it was also the connection that introduced me to this opportunity. And while at Traction, I was building on my skills, continuing to build that same mentality of building my network, getting to know peers, getting those opportunities to work with peers, but also with clients and build that network. I continued on that. And as I was in my consulting career, I realized I needed more skills, but I also wanted to try something different. Now, I'm going to call this fellow, I'm going to call him Bob. That's not his actual real name, but not only was he a peer to me, he was also a mentor in some ways. He was a couple of years ahead of me in his career. And so I was talking to him, and he told me, it's like, there's an opportunity at these other companies. Why don't you try those out? And so he introduced me to a senior manager at Deloitte. And so it was that relationship, that trust, and that kind of belief. It's like, okay, I'll talk to them. And which led me to a conversation with a partner at Deloitte, and then led me to making the jump to Deloitte and to continue and build on my skills and build on my career in consulting and in technology. And continuing with the same mentality of wanting to build my network, I build up my brand, but also finding now, a little bit further along, finding opportunities to be the mentor in some cases. And so as I was continuing in my career at Deloitte, I found some opportunities for people that made sense who were former colleagues. And I had reached out to them because there were some opportunities that existed at Deloitte. And they trusted me, and they made the jump over from Traction to Deloitte, which was like, wow. Before, looking back, it was me reaching out to other people for opportunities, like Sam, who was my previous program head. But now it's like me giving those opportunities to other people. And so continuing with that same mindset of building these relationships. And so over time, while I was at Deloitte, I realized there's another set of skills and experiences I've wanted. And that's what opened up the opportunity here at Groundswell. And so there's an opportunity to build up a practice. At the time, there were only about 20 people at Groundswell. Now we're, I think, close to 100 people. And so there was this potential to grow this business. And so I made that jump there. And since making that jump there, with all the past relationships that I've built, people that like peers and even mentees, they've made that jump and followed along, both from Deloitte and Traction. Over time, even Bob, who was a bit of a mentor to me before, he's now even joined, and then it's like Groundswell with me. So why am I telling you all this? Well, a lot of you have come in here with either peers, with schoolmates, or even have come here by yourself. But you've just embarked on this adventure for the next 24 hours to work within a team, to work with mentors, to work with judges. And I want to urge you to look at this as an opportunity, not to just build something and get a prize, but also that's an opportunity to build on the relationships, find those connections, build on those connections, and to be able to meet someone here and continue, and maybe not necessarily become best friends with them. That's not necessarily what's required here, but to maintain that connection and find a common ground that may be beneficial in the future. And so what are the things that you should consider when you are trying to build these relationships? First and foremost, it's a people aspect. There's you and the other person. Now, I am going to focus in on the relationships that are going to be impactful to your career and to your work. And so the first part that a lot of you may be looking for right now is that mentor-mentee relationship. But then there's also the other aspect that I encourage you to look at as well. It's also around peers. The mentor-mentee relationship, when we look at my story, it was definitely, it was important. It was kind of what led me to which school that I went to and what was my first job. But then there's also the peer aspect around, which led me to traction, which led me to being able to build those relationships with the people, with my team members who would then take the leap with me and join either Deloitte or join Groundswell. And so when you're looking at building these relationships, the things to consider, and first and foremost, is that it takes time and it's an investment. It's not that immediately when I go to a networking event, I now have a great relationship with someone. It's more that I meet someone, then I need to connect with them again, then I need to connect with them again and find that common ground around what is the purpose of this relationship. And it's an investment in the sense that I think about Sam, who my program had at the time. I don't think he was actually really getting any benefit, maybe for talking to me. But more recently, now that I'm in my role, he's actually directing some of his current students to me as a potential opportunity for internship or for career. And so it takes time and there's a lot of effort put into it. And don't expect something right away. The next thing is open with a bit of trust. Now, some of you may have heard the term like a trust wager. And what that means is that when you're entering a relationship, you're either going to be a person who trusts people or who needs people to gain your trust. What I urge you and recommend is that open with trust. Now, like I said before, I didn't think that Sam was out there to ruin my career, to send me somewhere else. But he was telling me about these opportunities to get these jobs, to get this knowledge and to expand my network. And so it was because I trusted them that has led me to where I am right now. Being vulnerable, and it's because I gave them that trust, I could be vulnerable and be vulnerable first. What I mean by that is open up, really share what are the things that be comfortable sharing what you're not comfortable with, be comfortable to share what makes you irk, and doing it first. Don't wait for the other person to do that first, because if you're waiting for the other person to open up first, then and they're also waiting for you, nothing's really going to happen in that relationship. Make it beneficial. Like, what's the purpose of this relationship? Like, we're all looking for something in a way, right? And even if it's just friendship or if it's some mentorship in a career, there needs to be a benefit for both sides, and it can't be one-sided. Otherwise, that's not really much of a relationship. And then lastly, be selective. The first thing we said was it takes time. You don't have time to build a good relationship with everyone. You need to be selective with who you're building those relationships with. And even now, working with my team, I can't support every single one of them every single day. There are going to be certain people that I'm going to focus on. And in the same manner, when you're building those relationships, be selective with who you're going to spend time with right now, because it does take time. And so when we're looking back at my story here, I look back and I look at all those lines that you see, and I think about, yes, definitely my learnings at BCIT, at Royal Roads, and even at each of those companies have given me the skills, knowledge, experience to be able to be where I am right now as a director. But I don't think I'd actually be exactly where I am if I didn't have those relationships. If I hadn't built those connections with Bob, I think is what I called him, with Sam over here, I don't know if this path would actually exist. And so when I said it takes time, when I look at some of these, that first connection that I had with my program that's 14 years ago. And even to today, I still keep in contact with him. After school, after I graduated, after I got my first job, I still have lunch with him every once a year, except for obviously 2020 because of COVID. Can't really meet up with him. I need to be conscious of that. But I still email him. I greeted him Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and even to the point where he's actually even helped me build a bench for my house. And then this other one here, like it's been 12 years since I met him at Royal Roads, and we still keep in contact. Even when we weren't working together, we'd message each other to just say Happy New Year, or how are you doing? What are you doing these days? Want to meet up? Let's have a drink. And to this person in here, like 7 years ago was when I first met him, and now he's working with me again, and he's helping lead some of the initiatives at Groundswell. And so it's all these kind of looking back, it's all these time spent and the investment that was made, and it's all coming to fruition now, but it's also beneficial for both parties. And so as I share my story here today with you, as I mentioned, if anything, there's recognizing that the importance of building these relationships. And so as you start with your team, as you go out and build your app, it's not going to be easy. And it never is. And sometimes it's because of that difficulty that you're able to build that connection. But after today, don't stop that connection. Like reach out next week. Send them a greeting, maybe later on during summer to just meet up, or how are you doing? So build on these relationships. It's not just a one and done thing. You can't just show up and it's done and you expect to have a relationship, and they continue to build on that. And so that's the final words I want to leave with you. And so, and as part of building that relationship, I am going to put my contact information here. So if you do want to reach out, if you have questions, either within Discord, you can reach out. You can also send me an email or send me a LinkedIn message. But yeah, take the time to build those relationships. And with that, thank you for giving me your time, and wherever you are in the world. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark, for your speech today. That is all we have for the keynote, and I'll be passing it on right now.